Hello.
Yeah, kind of interesting as I realized I probably should have taken part in at least one of these sessions to actually know kind of a little bit more how this works. But, well, we'll see.
We'll see how many people show up, actually. There's, in European time, there's not a lot of people on Mumble.
Yeah, but I think I spent yesterday up to, nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't do this every day. Actually, that I realized that was kind of a problem this morning, kind of, as I had forgotten that I had an appointment this morning and couldn't just stay in bed.
So, Germany or Denmark?
I'm originally German, but I'm now living since, now close to 20 years in the UK.
Yep. So that sounds right. So you were happy with the Bone Dancer turnout?
I have the prize here in the tavern in Hope's End, and I was hoping, Duffy seems to have disappeared, so I hope someone kind of can take it from me and give it to the winner. Or, the winner in regard to, I think they diced for it, or however the lot was drawn.
So who won, by the way?
I need to check my messages for that. Drago of Hope's End. So I have never met him before, so don't know who that actually is. So how should this work? So someone wants to introduce me, or should I then just start? Do people want to ask questions in between? I'm kind of absolutely flexible.
Yeah, just wait a few more minutes
I
to
know,
see if more people come in.
I will. I just thought in the time while waiting, I thought I check etiquette and these bits out.
I mean, I'm happy to introduce you, but I think all of us follow the forums well enough to know who you are. But from my perspective, I can at least say I'm impressed how the Emerald Lodge has managed to survive. Simply looking at the world map, you would think being just between Brighthaven and Golgotha is the worst place if you want to capture towers. And somehow you've survived, and understanding the political game is the main reason you've done so well, I think.
Yes, it didn't come easy, but surely that was a lot of work in there, but less on the PvP front, but mainly on the, indeed, political front.
And without going into details, it seems you've done some very smart moves on the forums. But I'm not going to comment more on that, because there is at least 3 sides to every story.
No, there definitely, there always is, so but thanks for that. Should we wait around 3-4 minutes? I think it's now 2 minutes past. Who's actually active? I mean, there's quite a few people here in. If they can just give a show of hands.
I'm here.
Yep, I'm here.
Coach is here.
Rumdar's here.
Mac here.
Eli here.
That sounded sounded like everyone.
Thank-
So as far as I know, this is sort of a lot of the university regulars, I think, and at least one person here is representing a larger group. So,
Yeah, kind of need to check what I'm saying here. Starting the politics already.
oh, for the record, I have a character in the order, but I'm completely neutral when I'm with the university.
Oh, no worries. I'm kind of part of the bit about politics is knowing who is where, and also trying to deal with everyone, and so no worries. I have sometimes to be when I make you some jokes on that is just kind of to make it a little bit lively, but try not to insult anyone because it would be kind of bad politics.
So if I can sort of offer my advice here, I think some players here are interested because they haven't chosen a settlement yet, and politics and sort of understanding which settlements have a sort of fair chance to survive and how the game's going to be is a big part of choosing a settlement. And I think at least one person online here might be a company leader and might actually need to play some politics, might take over a settlement or point of interest.
That's my stance, Coach. We go
Yep. I was thinking about
fledgling Penny, I guess.
Yeah, I already kind of noticed on the boards and saw in you kind of leader material for settlement, just being a little bit too late for the land rush, but you're on my watch list.
Yeah, real life got in the way, as it does
Okay.
a lot of people.
So I think it's time to start.
Yeah.
We're giving people 5 minutes.
Okay, so first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me here and that I'm kind of allowed to speak here. Feel free to ask questions at any time. I try to make it interesting and so on, and but it's my first time at we'll see kind of how this works. So the first bit I was asked about is chatting about settlements. So why are settlements important? Well, first of all, this game is built up that you don't play it on your own. Kind of say, Goblin Works tries hard to nudge you in a direction that you are not self-sufficient and that you gang together. And the whole idea is lower level you gang together in a company, and normally for this friends are enough to make up a company, but then you start to kind of go to the settlement level, and beyond the settlement level there's alliances, and at some stage probably even kingdoms. But of course that while you're kind of moved in this direction, one big question is where do you want to go, and what to do or what not to do in selecting a settlement, and how to act, for example, on the boards, and who is who, as all of this plays a part. This is a sandbox, and the whole idea is actions you do have consequences. And this is similar to, where I read lately someone insulting someone in the subway and afterwards meeting the same person for a job interview. You go out into the wilderness, kill someone and loot him, and then later on it turns out that is a settlement leader and you want to apply for a settlement, and I would say, oops. So that is why, politics, I wouldn't call this politics, this is just kind of behavior and being aware what is going on. But why it's important to know a little bit about kind of the landscape. So probably the most well-known two parts are likely the Northern Coalition, represented by Golgotha, on what's that game? Zombie Kitty Mountain, and further to the south, the EBA, which we also kind of have here, Pino here, and well, you probably read a lot about them. You kind of, one has declared themselves as kind of the evil group, the other one the kind of upholder of good and trying to help people. But what it boils down to is, well, for this whole game to work, certain confrontations are important because, well, that is what at some stage will bring wars, that will kind of give you content and other parts. And so it's important kind of to know kind of, what do you want to do? What is your play style? So, well, first of all, evil sounds really, really bad, but well, to a certain degree, Golgotha tries to have a play style that they feel helps this whole game to move forwards, and they are, if you talk to them, normally quite reasonable people. If the way they kind of look on the Everbloom Alliance is sometimes that they don't regard them necessarily as that great and good, and of course the other way around, for the Everbloom Alliance, they try to promote the game in their part, and well, of course for them, Golgotha is exactly what they need, some big evil that needs to be fighting against. What of course then is a little bit left out is there's so much more here in this game. This is probably the loudest of the groups, but there are many other smaller groups that are around there, and even if you look at these groups, they might not be one big power block as you might think about them. If you've read about the post that I did at Theodom about the tragedy of the Blackwood Glade, then this is exactly one such example where, well, Blackwood Glade is Everbloom Alliance, yes, by name, but the real problem was they were a relatively independent small group, and as such they were not necessarily in enough contact with the Everbloom Alliance to ask them for help when they got into trouble, while at the same time the perception from Golgotha was, oh, they are Everbloom Alliance, we can just pound on them because, hey, they are kind of our enemies. And they are our rightly our enemies. And, well, we know, sadly, what happened with some of that. Yeah, so that is, well, I've talked a lot about the two largest, well, or most influential here groups there. But there are a lot of smaller ones out there. So, for example, there's the Aeonian League that is relatively quiet, but is working quite hard on a lot of stuff. Up in the north, you have, for example, Forge Home, that
Shit, leg auf, Jens. Leg auf.
Just a moment. I'm getting interrupted. My father is on the phone, so that was unplanned.
Family politics.
Yeah, you always have to balance everything.
Sorry, I will be back in a little bit later. Just a moment.
Okay, discussion is completely open for now. Are you guys interested in hearing Thod's sort of description of each of the groups, or should we ask him to move on to something else?
No, I'd be interested in the groups.
Good.
Me as well.
Yeah, definitely me too, because I think Thod's sort of view of them is very different from my sort of very skewed view from the southeast corner. So there's more people joining. Hello, at least Axel Gorge and Father Ronin and MG Katana. If you just enter, then Thod was interrupted by real life for a few minutes and we'll be back.
Thank you.
Which settlement is Thod associated with?
He is the leader of the Emerald Lodge, which is, so if you have been on the forums, Theodom, the sort of mad wizard who describes things in role-playing manner, that is Thod. And he is the leader of Emerald Lodge, which is sort of right in between Golgotha and the Everbloom Alliance. So he is sort of living in no man's land and managed to survive basically by playing the political game quite well, making somehow friends with everyone. Yep.
All right.
Yes. This is an interesting map to have a look at while we're waiting for him to come back.
Fox, I don't guess this is a political question. It's more of a Goblin Works question, but a lot of the dead settlements, their settlement leaders have made it known that the game's not full yet, and so we're going to wait until closer to open enrollment, but we still want our settlement. But
yep.
Can they not lose their settlements before then when we come to holdings and take in property? I just wonder if they understand that open enrollment, they could log in and their settlement not be there.
I think they can't properly lose their settlement until actually siege mechanics and capturing settlements is there. So you can lose all your holdings. That's okay. They won't have any. So they won't lose any. They won't have any resources we can steal. But when they log in and start from scratch, they will be months and months behind.
So as far as you know, siege. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, carry on, Karen. So sorry, I'm kind of for leaving. It was kind of some personal emergency.
Yeah, you're back. We just got a question about the sort of empty settlements. What happens? Could they lose their settlement? I think some people have sort of said they will not be playing the game or have sold their accounts and so on. So some settlements may be recycled if they can't get in touch with the people.
I think,
but if they're saying they will back and start a settlement at some later stage, then I think the settlement is safe until siege is in.
That is correct. That is my understanding. I think, well, we're back into the realm of politics. A lot of this is probably also not 100% decided, I would say. So actions can move it in one direction or another. How you're dealing with stuff on the boards, I mean, Lisa or Ryan know people, they kind of also follow what is happening on the board. They get some ideas, and some of it can influence certain decisions. So I would say, I think they try to do a mainly hands-off approach, but it is very, very difficult to be 100% unbiased and not be influenced by whatever kind of happens in the sandbox. So this was about future settlements. Did I get this right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the currently non-active ones. Yeah. So just sort of continue with where you were. You were describing the different groups, and we have more people who have joined since you started.
Yes. Well, the people who joined now will have lost what I kind of was talking about, EBA and Golgotha, or Northern Coalition. So I want to start a little bit. There are multiple other groups out there. So, and I think what is of importance is that in a lot of cases, even inside groups, that individual settlements can be quite independent and different. So, well, to the north, well, to me it's kind of, well, all of the kind of Northern Coalition, kind of all of them are kind of are one and the same, but well, that is only because I don't deal directly with them, and they are too far away to have regular interactions with them. But if you look closer to it, you will kind of find probably large difference between something like Forgeholm, Ocean's Vigil, Stoneroot Glade, and, well, Black Feather Keep, and groups like that, starting from the expansionist and aggressive like Stoneroot Glade to something like Black Feather Keep, which is to a high degree, you could nearly say inactive. I mean, they do what is needed to keep their settlement, and they even kind of have taken towers, but they are not doing much beyond that. So yes, it's important to, at some stage, settle down and find out a settlement that fits to you and your playstyle. But that's a certain catch-22. On one hand, you want to join a settlement as early as possible because it helps you and gives you help and what you can do. At the same stage, it once you have made a decision, it, well, might brand you for kind of the rest of your life in the Pathfinder Online, and it's more difficult then to change. So in this respect, probably being a member of the Pathfinder University is an ideal choice because, well, they kick you out after a while. So starting there allows you to learn about the game, meet some people, interact with them, and then make decisions. So, well, I'm sometimes asked kind of, how does it work that can even be kind of a neutral group that kind of shouldn't exist in a game like this? And, well, once when they figure out where we actually are in between the good and the evil, and then feel like, aren't you kind of, why do you even exist? Well, to be honest, originally I started this and I wasn't sure if I will stay neutral all the time, but I've just felt, well, I didn't have the luxury of joining a Pathfinder University for settlements to work 90 days in a safe environment and then decide where I go and what I want to do. More or less, the moment I put my name in the hat and tried to go for the land rush, I already had to do some decisions where to go, how to deal with other people, and well, once I had week 1 and had Golgotha as my neighbor, there was then the question, oh, what do I do now? Do I deal with this problem, or, well, do I ignore it, or what alternatives are there? So at that time, kind of, I felt like, oh, I didn't want to commit to a large alliance. Obvious option would have been joining the Everbloom Alliance. I think at that time they might have been still named the Rosebud Accord. And I felt like, oh, it looked nice and tempting, but I felt I prefer a certain freedom, and at the same stage, the game hadn't even started, and how do I know how this game works out long term? Will I work well together with this group? Well, then there was kind of the alternative, of course. I could have said like, hey, I go with the evil overlords, kind of at which doorstep I am, and ask them for protection and whatever. But, well, to be honest, that is something I felt I can't play evil. If I don't know what the perception of me is by some people, but I rather tend more towards the Care Bear side than towards evil side, and I can be competitive. I might upset people at certain occasions and so on, but I just can't really do real evil. That just is not my playstyle, and I wouldn't be happy doing that. So, well, how then to survive that? Well, it is by talking to people, understanding where they are coming from, what they are doing, and well, as a independent group, as I say, you have. Well, I brought it that way to Golgotha. There are 3 ways how to survive as a neutral or independent group. Option 1, you are so small and irrelevant that nobody cares about you. Well, at that time I felt this is not truly an option for what I envisioned for the Emerald Lodge, so I didn't want to go down that route. Second option is you are so big and powerful that, well, you don't care, you set the rules. Well, this is maybe a interesting idea, and some people have told me I'm quite expansionist and aggressive for someone claiming to be neutral. I'm under no illusion that I'm so much smaller and weaker compared to Brighthaven or Golgotha that this isn't an option either. So the third solution then is, well, be valued by the other groups more alive than dead. Because, well, as long as it's in their interest that you actually exist, you should be fine. So find reasons why it actually is an interest to them that you should exist. What can you offer them a part of? Well, as I say, it's an easy offer to join someone because then they kind of see them as part of you. But if you're not a part of them, there's still things that can be good for them, that can be helpful. So, probably in case for Golgotha, the one bit I really brought onto the table is they went out to play this game as an evil group. Now, if you look at very early postings and so on, one of the biggest problems was perception, and it still is. Oh, you're evil. You're a griefer. You're a ganker. You are. You just want to kill everyone. Well, one big being valuable to them is, hey, look, here we have nice, innocent, helpless Emerald Lodge, and we don't flatten them. They are the proof we are not griefers or gankers. We are actually lawful. You can work with us. Well, so this is, for example, one bit going there. Then, well, in this respect, I always had less problems I kind of to deal with the South and with the Everbloom Alliance, because if you look at, well, who represents what, then, of course, for them, it is, well, for all what they are standing for, they should promote someone like us. So it always seemed a little bit maybe unfair, but, well, politics not necessarily is fair, that yeah, you can't treat everyone just the same way. I have the advantage for the South that I should assume they should kind of see something like us as beneficial, while for the North you have to work harder. Well, having said that, of course, at the same stage, when I set this up roleplay wise, I put this out. We would go for the spot number V, which is next to the Emerald Lodge, next to the Emerald Spire, which later on gave us then our name. Because, we are Pathfinders. We are kind of want to explore this place. Of course, this is something that then suddenly became very useful then also for the South, because, well, we are not the only one being that close to the Spire. There is also Golgotha there. And while the Spire at the current time is, well, worthless, it might become a important place, maybe where you can go down to dungeon for the first time, and at that time it is good to have a place where you can go to and have access to. And if we are a springboard in the shadow of Golgotha and of the evil, where other groups can come there as well, then of course you offer something then for the Everbloom Alliance and for the good aligned groups as well, and probably for everyone else there on the group. So I think it was Lone Wolf who at some stage kind of said like, oh yeah, Thod playing Bismarckian diplomacy, and I have to admit I wasn't even aware at the time what this was, but it's to a certain degree, well, Bismarck tried to balance different powers against each other, and to a certain degree, one of the important bits for me is, well, watching both sides and, well, if possible, trying to see that they are in balance and not that kind of, and as long as they kind of are busy with each other, I can take one step back and be seen as safe. The moment, of course, kind of I do something really, really stupid and get both of them against us, that is kind of the moment that my settlement will be dead in 10 minutes. That is probably as long as it takes them to move to our walls. So, yeah, it is about knowing your strengths, knowing what you can bring to the table. At the same time, well, be aware of your weaknesses. As yeah, for me, it would be a problem if one of the two groups, Golgotha, would conquer the south, or the south would conquer Golgotha, then I would have to, well, definitely adapt and change. I'm sure I would be able to in some way or another, but well, I can't tell kind of how this would look like, but yeah. Well, I have now spoken a lot. Are there any questions maybe, or some bits where I should kind of carry on with it?
Well, when you get a chance, if you wouldn't mind, just go through the different, how you had started going through the different settlements and your opinions on them and stuff like that.
Oh, opinion is dangerous, but yeah, let's. Give me a moment. I should just bring up a map, because otherwise I will miss someone out.
You can use the political map that was linked.
Yeah,
For the newer players, it might be a good idea to just tell them which settlements are out of the picture as far as they're dead and nobody to contact, and that way you can narrow down the field for them.
yeah, it's good. Okay, I have here. Yeah, people should have a look at the political map, and then I start in the north. Let's kind of start in the kind of northwest. So. Tavernhold. Well, they seem to be quite industrious. They have been very large in the land rush. They seem to be a little bit slow in here, but have a decent presence and seem to be relatively kind of a little bit laid back and active. It seems to be mainly kind of crafting as far as I can tell. They try not to offend people, so if you're in for high PvP, that's probably not your place. If you are more kind of into crafting and stuff like this and doing a quiet life, possible kind of good place to be, and well, place to kind of grow to the sides. East of them, next is Aldavak. Aldavak was early on seemed to be a dead settlement, but it seems to have actually found people who are now active in there. It's a relatively small settlement, so they are crafters. They seem to have good connections to your surroundings, and well, something for a crafter possibly to check out. Well, then we have Otham's Vigil. Otham's Vigil is quite interesting in a way that they have declared themselves from the beginning very forceful as lawful good. That is kind of where the name is, and they strive to be a stronghold for paladins. If you're really into the shiny knight in armor then this could, well, you can't go wrong with a place like that. So carrying on further east and keeping on the line, Black Feather Keep. Now, Black Feather Keep is, well, a controversial place, a way that Scorchback, their leader, seems to have been thrown out with Spitfire, who was a very active member. And Black Feather Keep is, it's not a dead settlement, I would call it rather a dormant one. So, more or less, the current leader of Black Feather Keep doesn't think much about the Dwarf Tower, doesn't think that much about the early enrollment, but he got a spot there, he keeps it going, and, well, probably has plans at some stage when this game goes fully live, but until then will be kind of a relatively, well, I don't think that settlement you will see there much activity. So, probably not a settlement I would recommend to join at this stage in the game. It might change in a year's or 2 years' time, but, well, that is how it is right now. Forgeholm is a very interesting one. That place is, I think a dwarven stronghold. Stays pretty much out of politics, and if you're looking for a neutral group, I shouldn't advertise it, but that is kind of a probably neutral group more on the fringes. So if you are afraid of Emerald Lodge and us being too much here in the center, then this is a more kind of laid-back group. So the few interaction I had with their members were quite nice, but I don't know them too well. Well, that gets me to the next row of it. Stoneroot Glade. This is a very interesting settlement. It entered the land rush very late as Cabal. They did a lot of stuff differently. You didn't know, they kicked out a lot of other settlements from their spaces and moved along the whole map. And you couldn't be sure if it what's going on there. I'm still a little bit, unsure about where they're going to, what they will be doing. It's definitely a relatively expansionist and a group that is driven and that has also a lot of a bigger background in the gaming community and a bigger group behind them. So that is Stoneroot Glade. Gardheim, Gardheim was dead. It was then seemed to be revived, and then it turned out it was someone was playing a prank on it, and then Ryan more or less took it out. I haven't heard much about Gardheim since, so if to me it's kind of a defunct settlement right now, unless I'm not up to date about it. Columbia, next in line, is a very interesting one. This was one of the original first 3 large settlements that got onto the map. It then seemed to sprout a second settlement in the name of Golgotha, which caused a lot of flame wars on the boards when this happened, and Golgotha was putting their hat in the ring for a independent settlement, because it was said like, oh, this is just kind of a second settlement for Columbia. Now, Columbia at the moment, if you hear about Tinkill and so on, they struggle to actually stay big enough and keep their towers, and it's a crafting town. Definitely in Tinkill you have someone who has lots of crafter and other bits there, but it is a little bit I would watch it kind of how it develops, or maybe someone who goes in there and can actually push it. But it also is connected to PAX Gaming, which is the same as Golgotha as PAX Gaming, and be aware of some connections there. Freewhale, next to it, they advertise themselves as the big place for, if you want to have freedom, if you want to go not being influenced by other people and so on, then join us. They caused a lot of interesting trouble a day or two after the land rush, when the settlement more or less split, and some members of the settlement were kicked out after they had given their votes to put free whale on the map. It caused a lot of problems, I think, for the settlement leader at the time, because his reputation in some areas went down a lot. He recovered, in my view, but lately seems to be not that active. So I check it out, but I'm not sure where they are right now. Well, Talengard, again, kind of a craft settlement. They are seem to be kind of doing nicely, not in the headlines. Definitely in a good position. I mean, all of the ones up there in the northwest of the map. Coal is so important that can't be wrong kind of being there. And what I would be very is, whatever you do, if you kind of join a settlement, also look which neighbors are there. So in case of Talengard, how do they deal with Stonewood Glade? What is happening there, and how do they cope with them? And inform yourself about issues like these, especially about bigger neighbors. Terra Firma was a Australian group, but seems to be unfortunately inactive and not much happening. Would be great to have a Oceanic group actually in the game that is active. Aragon. Aragon from the beginning was a very controversial place, mainly due to Bloodwolf, who openly was advertising banditry, and of course that is very badly regarded by quite a lot of people who see this as griefing and so on. I have a very different playstyle to Bloodwolf, but I certainly kind of regard them quite highly. Interestingly, politically, is that at the moment it's mainly the Allegiant Gemstone Company, which seems now to dominate this, at least member-wise and power-wise. So it will be interesting if you go in there to check out what is actually happening behind the scenes. So, Auroral. Some people will say, that's just Golgotha. Well, no, actually Auroral seems to be doing quite nicely, growing in the shadow of Golgotha, but they are not the same. This is also kind of an active group of players who have a lot of background in other games and are community. But it is a different community to Golgotha, so you make a big mistake by just kind of lumping them together and see them as one and the same. As I say, they're definitely in the shadow. They are smaller than Golgotha. Golgotha overshadows them, so you get a little bit of Golgotha into it if you go to Auroral, but check them out. I didn't have much interaction with them because, Golgotha is in my way, and that is kind of what dominates it. Kreutz Bernstein, sad story, was doing quite well in the land rush. It's actually a German-based settlement with lots of German players, so I should be kind of feel quite at home there, but they seem to be nearly completely inactive since early enrollment has started. Hammerforge, New Dagger Mark, Iron Gauntlet. Well, here we have kind of a group of 3 settlements that I haven't seen much. I saw 1 or 2 people as Iron Gauntlet. I once kind of met someone there, but they seem to be heavily inactive. And Iron Gauntlet, well, this was a spot nobody wanted in the land rush because kind of, they saw Golgotha, they saw Aragon, and kind of nobody wanted to be kind of in this spot because it was seen as the prime spot to, well, be conquered and die. Deadman's Glen, well, for a while I also was regarding Deadman's Glen as inactive, but I've seen some signs of activity there, but I haven't, well, they haven't reached out to me. I mean, I'm a neighbor to them. I have 2 towers just outside their core 6, and, well, they haven't even bothered so far to tell me, like, oh, these are our towers. So, while not dead, this group, they are definitely not very active and talk to other people, which, well, it works for them probably in the way that they are out of enemy forces and are too small to be bothered about, but yeah, it's probably not a place I would then suggest you want to go if you are not in the early group of Deadman's Glen. If I misinterpret them, well, they should tell me. I just don't know much more about them. Sunhome, they are part of the Aeonian League. It's an interesting group, this whole Aeonian League, as they seem to be a little bit of kind of the small guys that banded together and seem to do quite well as a group together and work nicely together. Well, that leads next to Canis Castrum. This is their crafting hub and the biggest group. And with Hope's End, they have kind of a little bit the evil side of it. And they have an astonishing number of towers. And, well, while not necessarily a power block on the political scene, it is definitely a thriving community, and will be interesting to see how they develop. Well, Emerald Lodge, well, yeah, we are kind of the neutral entity between kind of the 2 big blocks. Well, I started this because I have no background in MMOs, and but I have a lot of gaming background, I have to say. And I started this mainly as Pathfinder Society aligned because that is where my background is. I'm a tabletop game master. I'm a 5-star Pathfinder Society game master, and well, when I was looking for votes for the Land Rush, I more or less went through all of the Pathfinder Society GMs I knew here in the UK and checked them. Oh, do you have an account? Give me your vote. That is kind of more or less how I put myself on the map. Since then, I'm more and more getting people from outside, from other groups, but that is kind of how this whole lot started. So I'm trying to be open to everyone, and well, especially moving also more people from the US in. Doomhammer, well, haven't heard about them. High Road, well, actually, this should be the real Pathfinder Society aligned settlement here. This is a US group. They were kind of founded by 2 venture captains of the Pathfinder Society. They had much better connections than I had to Pathfinder Society, a much bigger stomping ground with the US, but yeah, unfortunately not very much active and haven't been heard, so that's unfortunately a dead settlement. Blackwatch, again, kind of a settlement that is yeah, quite inactive. Hammerfall is part of the Everbloom Alliance. It's a crafter settlement. It has a lot less members compared to the big groups in the group, but it is doing okay. They definitely could use some people. I have good connections with them, but yeah, they will have to either need a lot of help from the Everbloom Alliance to thrive, because in the position, once early enrollment ends and Emerald Lodge might become more of a trade hub or more of a crafting town, then this might overshadow Hammerfall. And so they will have to up their game. Well, I have great connections with them, but from a purely political point of view, I'm competing with them. I could kind of overshine them, and that could be kind of a big problem for them if they kind of don't, move up a little bit. Well, south of it we have Blackwood Glade. If you didn't read about it, Blackwood Glade is part of the Everbloom Alliance. There was a dedicated group of role players who were leading this, but unfortunately they didn't really interact that much, not even with their own allies, which is the Everbloom Alliance. So well, when Golgotha came down and more or less camped around their place and killed them, a lot of them a few times, they kind of gave up on the game, and which is, well, this is a political failure, because all of this could have been prevented by talking with people, by knowing your neighbors and knowing your position. And if you look on the map, well, they are more or less in the path of the armies from Golgotha going down to Keeper's Pass and Pharos. So you can't just ignore a position like this and just say, oh, we are just doing roleplay. We don't care much about the others. I mean, they should have had the resources. They have much bigger allies, and but yeah, I think it. Well, they seem to just play too much on their own and realized it too late, and then the kind of the boards made kind of an end to them because they just felt, oh, well, we don't want to put up with this. I don't know what's currently happening with Blackwood Glade because someone else bought it, and I haven't yet read much about Blackwood Glade relaunched, so I'm kind of will watch this with interest. So then we have the three big ones of the Everbloom Alliance. So that is Keeper's Pass, which is a crafter settlement, kind of lots of role-playing happening there. They are crafting, they are kind of interesting bunch of people. Pharos, which, well, in Pharos is, I would say, dominated a lot by Nehemon, and he's also kind of a quite big ego here on the boards, very knowledgeable, and they have quite a few other very great people, and they are currently doing quite a lot of PvP and fighting with the Golgothan Empire, and are quite aggressively in capturing towers. And then Brighthaven, which was the winner of the first land rush and actually the largest settlement, at least by member count, that is there. Brighthaven is a real powerhouse in regard to purely on resources, industrialized and so on. all I know is kind of, well, if you need something, well, they have stockpiles of it, where others might struggle to get something, be it armor or other bits. They play a very, well, more or less this whole game in an industrial style. How this will work long term, it will be interesting to see, and where some of the weaknesses are, but that is a little bit there. So, oh, yeah, kind of. I currently can't scroll while I push the button here. Riverbank. How can I forget Riverbank? Of course, who invited me here? Yeah, they are a little bit here to the south. Well, that is a place you can't join, or not least for too long, because they kick you out after a while. I have to say, I was skeptical when the Pathfinder University started, but so far I really like what Axie Hoffman is doing with it, and pushing this, and doing a really, really great service here for the whole community, and having this as a training ground for people. I can't scroll while I do this. Have I missed anyone out?
Maybe Dagadai.
Yes. Apologies. Yeah. Yeah, why did I leave out Dagadai? Yeah, Dagadai is... I don't know what happened to them. They were a very early settlement, quite active. They were early on in the land rush, quite big, and probably amongst the top 5. They slowly kind of drifted down the ranks, and I think we even got relatively close to our vote count to them. And, well, they seem never to have really started since early enrollment, so I guess it probably has to do with leadership, which might be inactive. They should be in a quite fantastic position, being they're in a corner, having not to bother too much with other people, and at some stage having Thod Invitable at their doorsteps. Was looking like an interesting spot for me to go if I ever would have wanted to flee out of the shadows of Golgotha, I admit. But yeah, I don't know if something will happen with them, if they will become active, but it will be now an uphill struggle, because other people already have established a lot of work and other bits there. Possibly someone who has already an active group could take on something like this. I mean, someone like Coach or so on, if someone like that could get hold on there and infiltrate some of this, or kind of take this over, a settlement like this down there could develop splendidly. But, well, I don't know. That is all I can tell. Any questions? Someone, please.
So, in your opinion, do you expect sort of a big world war eventually, or do you expect just sort of these local rival border fights?
I don't think a large world war will happen. I mean, there are areas. If you join a settlement, you always have to be aware of your neighbors. And the closest probably to a large war is what happens with Golgotha and the Everbloom Alliance. But, as far as I'm concerned, I will try to ensure that neither side of them wins. I hope that isn't being kind of used against me afterwards. But well, for me, kind of in my interest is actually, as long as they balance them out, I'm kind of feel more safe where I am. And I think also for this whole game, it probably wouldn't be good to have just one huge large block. And the other aspect is, as you have seen with Blackwood Glade, even in something like the Everbloom Alliance, where others see this as one big conglomerate, you then suddenly realize, there is one group that is actually quite detached from it, and, well, disappears and leaves the game. So don't expect that some of these groups are that unique, and in some cases you might even have strife inside settlements where, well, some settlements might keep together because they have to, but once there are the options, some of them might split, and two parts might move into different direction. And I think that is what will ensure that there won't be one large war all over the area. Of course, if you want to avoid war, there might be places to go, and there might be places which to avoid. So, and I'm very, very sensitive to this, because I'm in a spot that potentially could be in a lot of hurt, and could be a war zone. At the same time, that is because being aware of it, I try to do the opposite of it and try to ensure actually this is a peaceful oasis. Any other questions?
You saw the question? How did the plans for alignment mechanics play into settlement choice and politics?
That will be a very, very interesting one. Again, we might have noticed that. I'll need to check how I'm actually described here on the map, if I can. Here, I'm described as unknown good. Well, I'm more or less said kind of I'm not evil, because that is not my playstyle. But beyond that, I felt kind of it is a fallacy to commit to an alignment before I even know kind of how this all will play out. So
that sounds very neutral.
Well, yes. At the same time, when I said kind of where I saw myself is, if you look at the scale from plus 7,500 to minus 7,500, I would have seen myself probably in the area of plus 2,000 towards lawful and plus 2,500 towards the good side. Well, what does this make you? So there might be a certain slight bias or shift towards the good area, towards the lawful area, but well, in the end, neutral seemed to be where I am, but yes, I see myself as an independent, as a neutral arbiter here on the political scene. I won't just blindly follow necessarily neutral in the game if this doesn't work for a settlement like us. If I have no qualms to go for a different alignment, be it neutral good or being lawful neutral, if that is actually what the game mechanics push me to do. So that will be an interesting one for some of the settlements that describe themselves, if they figure out like, we can't do this, or to allow all of these different religions, we might have to say, this settlement of our alliance should go for a different alignment than we are. So that will be a very interesting one to follow. And yes, especially this will make it very interesting if you want to play a cleric, because as a cleric, you will have to be very careful. Your choices will be much more limited. A fighter can go everywhere. Well, you swing a sword. As a cleric, you want to have training, you want to have support, and if you follow a certain god, then you probably won't get this in, well, I would say in many places. But in some cases, it might be that for a certain god, there might be only one single settlement that offers this god, and that might mean that you either sacrifice which god you follow, or you kind of ensure you kind of go to that one settlement that offers this.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'd like to comment on how should you behave on the forum.
Yes, I think on the forum, it's the important bit is the forum and the game are interconnected. So, well, the game did start well before you could log into alpha, because of land rush, and even before the land rush, there was building up of alliances, of settlement, recruitment was happening. You are painting a picture to others how you are perceived, and yeah. Well, I had the unfortunate case of having a member who managed to be the very first one who got banned from this whole game because he misbehaved on the forums. He was a great player in the regard that he was very emotionally attached to this game. He tried to push it forward. He was online more often than I was, which is difficult, I would say. But he had problems to, well, not offend people online, and that went so bad that he kind of, well, offending Ryan Darcy is not the best idea. And, well, it was a shame because I felt he could have been an asset to this game if he would have managed to behave differently. And well, for a while he was member with us, he tried to, but maybe he left us because I probably pushed him too hard. But yes, if you do some thirds on the boards, then be careful, they transfer over into the game. Yes, it's about meaningful consequences, and yes, well, I'm here as Thod, but there's also kind of Theodom, kind of, this is my in-character counterpart, and well, some people could say I use him, some people could say I misuse him. That is where I do board PvP, where I do PvP with words, as someone from Zensu told to his friends, like, oh, beware of him, he can do PvP with words. And I felt kind of, yeah, that's kind of the biggest compliment a PvP player could give me.
Yeah, I was going to be sort of rude enough to ask you if Theodom, you're obviously doing some great role-playing threads, and is that just because you're a 5-star GM, or is this a sort of deliberate plan of the diplomacy of sort of creating value for the community and about framing the reality in your way?
Yes and yes. It is kind of both. I enjoy doing that, but I also there are sometimes that I just joke around a little bit with Theodom, but there are some threads where I use Theodom very in a way to actually derive something. I mean, there was a very controversial thread that I started with Theodem about Baron's Folly. I mean, this was an example where, yes, I definitely used Theodem to ensure that a tower that we took by PvP would stay in our possession. It took me afterwards at least a week or two to fix some of the wounds and the damage I caused by it, but that tower is still ours.
I hear that Wednesdays is free Pabst Blue Ribbon night in Emerald Lodge. Is this true?
Sorry, can you ask this again?
Free beer in Emerald Lodge on Wednesdays, yes?
Oh, if you say so, I guess so. Have to do this. Well, actually, Wednesdays is always a bad day for kind of me because that is my tabletop gaming day. So on Wednesdays you will not find me that much. But yeah, I also heard kind of there's a drinking competition going on in our place that that Theodem couldn't ban so far.
So I think we've certainly come to the end of the lecture. I hope you'll stay for more questions. But well, thank you for promoting Pathfinder University earlier. But we've come to the place where you're allowed to give a blatant advertisement for your own settlement, if you like to.
Okay, now I'm speechless. How did this happen? I think, well, how to advertise his Emerald Lodge. What I'm trying to do with Emerald Lodge is to be a place where independent people can go, where people who feel they don't want to necessarily be part of one of the big, large organization actually need to go. And I'm also kind of sometimes try to be a little bit there for kind of the small guy who is might come from a tabletop environment and so on, and help them out. And well, probably you could call it a Care Bear environment. Ensure for these groups there is a settlement there where you can come and join us. And yeah, what I still need to get better at is need to get someone very active and a lieutenant more on the US part, because well, my background is UK and the time zone really is a handicap, and we need more activity also at US times. But I'm kind of free to give someone here who wants to be active and so on a nice playground, I would say, as long as he fits in and feels like, actually kind of the vision that I have with Emerald Lodge is this one. And yes, politics are still made by me, but everything else I try to find people, the others who do this.
Fire away, Pino, and it's sort of up to you if you want to stop the recording or not.
Yeah, go ahead. I hope it isn't necessary, but assume that, well, you have seen Theodom's call to arms. Well, part of it is also kind of at an early stage, just have a look to see how the community reacts to something like this. At the moment it was only the bone dancers, so hey. But yeah, I hope Theodo will never have to do a call like this for something against Goon Swarm, but I definitely would be there to try to bridge problems between groups. So to a certain degree, I often can see myself as someone who can try to bring different groups together to the table and say, like, hey, this is actually the real important bit that is there. So I can't predict the future, so I don't know what will happen until then. Well, I just take it as it comes. And I try not to kind of upset people too much up to that stage, so that actually this is still then a possibility that we actually can band together for something like that.
I have a question. Do you find that the game is mostly dominated by one time zone or time area? It seems like there's a lot of Americans playing and not a lot of Europeans or especially like Oceanic players in. Do you find it's mostly one time zone?
Yes, there's mostly just one time zone, kind of, around Emerald Lodge, kind of. It's here during the European times when you can see most people here. Joking aside, yes, it is, of course, I don't know if it's 80% or how much people are from the US, so you always will have more people around at certain prime times. Again, that's probably something I missed out in when you choose a settlement. Have a look when they are actually active, and definitely the Oceanic players, it is a big problem. I have one of them who is quite active, but who became quite inactive because he just struggles to play together with other people, and that is something I can't help him, where I can only give him options and how he can do better, but in the end it's up to him to find other people. And interestingly, he said just today, I think he sent me a message and will become more active again, and he hopes that the global chat will help for that, because well, even if there are only 5 or 6 players around at a certain time of night, as long as they go to the global channel, they still have now options to find each other and then maybe kind of do something together.
I've been iced out of school for a couple weeks, and I'm a school teacher, and I'm gonna tell you, Marchmont, there is people on there 20 to 21 hours out of the day, so that would be an option for them just until y'all got a couple, 3 more Oceanics.
Yes. Marchmont, because, well, that is kind of the starting ground, and well, I don't know how much you find in Keeper's Pass or Brighthaven or Golgotha around there. In Emerald Lodge, you often see a lot of people during the European time zones. I don't know how much is happening during the US time zones, as well, that's when I sleep finally. But yeah, it often can be more difficult to, if you're not in the American time zone, to kind of connect to that. And one problem especially is because there is no communal storage. Handing over stuff between different time zones is really painful, and I just spotted here Duffy kind of joined us, so hopefully I can catch him after this, because yeah, I want to give him something, and well, if I don't catch him here, that might take then a week on before we finally kind of meet up with each other. Thod is in the Inn of Hope's End. Sorry for self-advertisement here.
Okay, if there's no further questions. If there's no more questions, I say again, thank you, Thod, for a very interesting talk.
Yeah,
Thanks, Thod.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thod.
And everyone, please feel free to send me PMs about, opinions, what I could have done different as on it. I've done this the very first time, so kind of feedback will be useful if I ever be invited back here again.
I'm sure you will be. I thought we might even. There's an idea I'm starting to have is that I might even ask you to come and do something in German. That would be okay, I suppose.
Oh, yep, can do. Do we have a decent number of German players here around?
Not I, sir. California.
Not a lot, but I did hear at least. Well, that was a French guy, but someone who sort of declined to come onto the Mumble because his English wasn't good enough, and there might be more.
Yeah. Well, Kreutz Bernstein should have filled this role, so it would be interesting kind of to find out what happened to that.
So I don't think German lectures are really needed for the next few months, but when suddenly the population starts to sort of take off, then it will be useful.
Yeah, happy to do so.
And to everyone, I mean, this Mumble is always open.